I'm so excited to welcome today's guest on Women and the Businesses They Own podcast, Kristle Teague. Kristle was born and raised in Kentwood, Michigan, and her roots in this community run very deep. After graduating from East Kentwood High School and earning her degree at Grand Valley State University, she stepped into the legal world and never looked back. Over the last 20 years, Kristle has worn many hats: litigator, advisor, mentor, and now business owner, building a practice that helps families and businesses plan for their future with confidence. But beyond her legal expertise, Kristle is a wife, a mom, and a woman who knows what it takes to balance family life with the demands of running a firm. Her story is one of grit and growth and giving back to the very community that raised her. Today, we'll dive into her journey, how she found her calling in law, and what it's been like to step into ownership and the lessons she's carrying forward as both an attorney and a leader. So welcome, Kristle.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, I already maybe mentioned this a little bit, but I love your fireplace. Already, I feel warm.
Yes, I mean, the
Very cool.
weather is not, super cold yet, but I like to be cozy, so.
Well, it brings a whole new atmosphere to this podcast. I love it. So, how I want to get started, if we could, please, can you just share with our listeners a little bit more about yourself personally and then kind of move into professionally and give us some of those things that we might not be familiar with?
Oh, sure. So, as you mentioned, I've lived in this area. West Michigan's my home since birth, and you know how you go through like little phases of life. Like I had various interests as a young person. I was a figure skater, if you could believe that, and really committed to honing that craft. And then later became a coach while I was in college. I always had kind of multiple jobs going on. I waited tables for like every Italian family in the city and made pizzas. I can throw a pizza dough
Okay.
here and not punch my fist through it. Um,
Welcome
so I
back
have
there.
figure yeah, and went to Grand Valley, as you mentioned, and got my undergrad degree there, and then started like literally got married the month after I graduated.
Did you
And
meet him at school?
we're high school sweethearts. So
Oh,
met him at East Kentwood. Yep.
okay.
Actually, I met him in eighth grade the first time.
Oh, wow.
We walked to a basketball game. No, rode bikes to a basketball game together. Yeah. It didn't go well.
It did
And
go well
then we
initially.
reconnected in 10th grade.
And then did he go to Grand Valley as well?
No, he went to Paris.
Oh, okay. Well, then, hey, you
Rival
have
schools there.
rival schools. But the long distance didn't seem to curb the relationship in any way.
No, no, we were very steady, still are. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, keep going. I'm sorry about that. I had to pause and go,
Yeah,
"Oh,
no,
sweet,
no
that's
problem.
awesome."
Yeah. So, yeah, we were married, kind of young in life, especially nowadays. People are getting married later, but we had about 4 years together before we decided to start a family. So we have two children. My oldest is Anthony. Here, I'll make him really mad. Here's Anthony.
Oh, awesome.
And then we had very soon thereafter Angelina.
Oh my goodness. The A's are resonating.
Yes, yes. So yeah.
Have they
Um,
graduated high school?
yeah, so both are graduated. Anthony is 19. He's working full time in trades. He's an auto body mechanic, not a mechanic, auto body collision tech. So he does the
Oh,
body
okay.
work when you
Okay.
crash your car. So
Need them. We need them.
yeah, yeah. So he works for Dutton Auto Body, right, right near Caledonia.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, she is venturing towards architecture. She's taking advantage of that Michigan Achievement Scholarship. She's
Oh,
at
wow.
GRCC for now. And then she'll probably move to Lawrence Tech, where she was accepted for architecture. Um, she loves physics and geometry, and I don't know
Ooh.
how that happened, but
Ew. Stop right now. You know what? A couple of things though make me think. One, Lawrence Tech is always for me, it's a big hockey school. So, I mean,
Mm,
good,
is
good,
it?
good for
Yeah.
him. Always recruiting at all of the hockey tournaments. So,
Okay.
and then with you, talking about figure skating, didn't you, when you coached, did you coach some hockey players? Was it like
I
power?
did. Yeah, that was actually my little niche. Hockey players, when especially them that start at a very young age, they put a stick in their hand and they forget to learn how to skate. They use the stick as a crutch, and some of them pick it up and they're very good. But one of the things that I kind of specialized in was doing power skating skills for hockey teams, and yeah, so that was a big part of my
That's cool.
coaching experience. Hockey teams would bring me in to do 30-minute sessions, and then they all had to go home and take a nap because they were all dead.
That's really cool. That's where our worlds collide a little bit too. I
Oh
think
yes, you have hockey players.
just one, it's enough.
Okay.
But he's playing at Calvin. So,
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
yeah, yep, their season kicks off next weekend. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays as a freshman. I think so. But yeah, we've had hockey in our life. And so I don't know when you stopped coaching. We may have actually met and didn't realize it.
Maybe it's been a while. Yeah, I had Anthony, and then I was pregnant with Angelina, and you know how you have like pregnancy brain. I was
Hmm.
late for lessons, and so I ran on the ice with my skate guards on, which, as you know, doesn't work well. And so I slammed on my elbow, broke my elbow, and then I was like, okay, maybe I have too much going on right now. Maybe we need to like
Oh,
scale something back. So yeah,
no.
yeah. So that was,
Okay.
18, 19 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's been a while, right?
Yeah,
Because of your son and what have you. So that's a lot of things that's really formed where you are today. What about even professionally a little bit for the work? Because you did some Italian restaurant serving, did the
yeah.
singing, and then how did you actually, what started you with legal or getting into the to law?
Wow. This might be preemptively answering one of your other questions, but I do you remember in like around eighth grade they give you an aptitude test
Mm-hmm.
in school? Well, mine came back, you're going to be a lawyer. And
Oh.
I was so excited because I'm like, yes, I have a direction. I'm a planner. And so, which is part of why I do estate planning. And so I ran home and I told my mom, mom, I'm going to be a lawyer. That's what this test told me. And she's very practical, but also very wise. And she sort of leaned back in her chair with a little bit of a concerned face. And she says, Kristle, that is 8 years of college after after you get done with high school. Are you sure you're up for that? And so then I very quickly shifted gears and said, well, maybe I'll be a paralegal. So when I graduated high school, I went to Grand Valley, did a major in legal studies, and I think it was about sophomore year, I decided I needed to get into a firm. So I put my big girl pants on and I interviewed for my very first big girl job, and yeah, that ended up being for a general practice solo practitioner, so a small firm setting. But he did a lot of different kinds of law. So it was ideal because I had now gotten a taste of criminal defense and family law and even a little bit of immigration,
Mm.
all kinds of things, even general civil, and, got, just a piece of all of those different areas of law. Because as you may know, when you graduate from law school, they say you can practice in any area that you want. So it's not like you just get licensed to do estate planning or, criminal defense or family law or any of that stuff. You can do whatever you choose, what area you want to practice in. So little did I know at that time, because even though I did get a bachelor's degree, which meant I could just go to law school for the next 3 years and then, you know, hopefully pass the bar and get to become a lawyer. At that time, I was very happy being a paralegal, and I thought, we're going to start having kids, and maybe this is my career, and I was loving it. I was with that firm for 15 years. Actually didn't even plan on switching firms, but other plans fell in my lap, and I did end up switching to a different firm, and that's what led me to go back to law school. And that was a horrible, horrible 4 years of my life, but we got
Well,
through it. Hard things, garnered
yeah.
good rewards. So
Well, I think we'll end up being back here a little bit and
yeah,
emphasizing some more of that 4 years and what that balance must have been like with family at that time. Because I think for all of our younger listeners, I always think like if you can just knock it out and get it done, before relationships, responsibilities, whatever it is, but we always life just takes us in different places. So
it does. It
we'll
does.
pause and come back. But right now, let me see too, because with you living right here your whole life, in the Kentwood and the Wyoming area, how has being rooted in this community and never really going outside of the city? It seems like you're pretty community based. Your community has really shaped your perspective as an attorney and a business owner. Can you just shed some light on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I was born and raised in Kentwood, lived in the same house practically my whole life. And I feel like I've been really shaped by the values of that are the heart of West Michigan, right? We have this special kind of everyday civility here that I think is really unique to West Michigan. And that's how I was raised by my parents, and it sort of stayed with me, to this day. Um, so that mindset is really shaped how I practice law, how I run my business, how I lead my team. I know there's a lot of stereotypes out there about attorneys. They're cold, they're combative, they're angry, but that's never really been my style, as you could probably tell. I
Yeah.
almost always have a smile on my face, and I just really feel at my core that you should treat people with respect. You should listen. You should try to be the kind of person that people want to work with. And that served me well in running this business. My paralegal, Lydia, she always jokes and she says it's my superpower. She calls me the people's attorney.
Aw,
And honestly, I think that's a compliment. This hopefully it's
yes,
meant to be a compliment. But
yes.
I'm just here to help people through real situations. And I think being grounded in this community has helped me do that in a genuine way.
Okay, so so that's kind of more in the business. So outside of work, thinking about that a little bit too. What's one activity or tradition that keeps you grounded and connected with family and friends then? Or,
Yeah, of course.
community
That's
close.
important.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I think has definitely kept me grounded over the years is I am still very involved in the church that I grew up in. So Kentwood Community Church is a big church in Kentwood. We call it KCC. Even as my life got busier with kids and work and just in general, like I tried to make a point to stay balanced by volunteering in various different ministries. One of the things I used to do when I was in high school and college is I love to sing.
Oh,
And so, yeah, I'm part of the worship arts ministry at KCC. Also, my father is an audiovisual guy. So he at one point was tech director of that church at KCC. And so I've kept in that tradition by being part of the production team there. And I think all of that just reminds me that service isn't just something that I do in my profession, but it's part of who I am, as a person.
I think that's a great reminder. Sometimes even myself, I get so caught up in work and I think, well, I
Yeah.
serve my clients. That's my choice. I want to serve my clients all day, but sometimes I feel like there's just nothing left at the end of
Yeah.
the day. And I don't do as well in my church life. And I kept saying, well, when the kids are older, I'm going to have so much more time because every time I look at volunteers at church, I'm like, there's a reason they look older. They waited for their kids and they're, I mean, they have more time. So That's what I kept saying.
Yeah.
So when my kids were little, I served, and I always kind of served in the children's ministry more so.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then, and now I'm like, okay, but now I'm going to go on to that older, I'm going to be the older volunteers. Anyway, that's a great reminder. So I think it's really great. So you must go to church and see your parents every week?
Well, unfortunately, my parents moved up to Grant. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, they love
Yeah.
it up there, but my parents did move up to Grant. That's about 45 minutes north.
Oh,
And
yep.
so coming in for, they serve at a church up there.
Oh, okay.
But
So
yeah,
you won't get a chance to be there on Sundays anymore with them,
I
but
know that's a bummer, but some
yeah,
of my childhood friends still attend, so it's still home.
that's great. Do they have a women's ministry that you're involved in?
They do. Yep. They have so many ministries that I can't
I
even
bet it's a big
expound,
church.
but like Sister Circle is one where, there's gatherings every like once a month or something like that. There's
Yeah.
community groups. There's all kinds of ways to get involved, stay connected, to make a big church feel smaller.
That's great. I love that. Obviously, the emphasis being on women, because that's, where I just wanted to make sure we have to really stay focused
Yeah.
on what we can do to build ourselves up, and just, I don't know, just stay in that service area and just help each other out too. I think sometimes women
Yeah,
can,
I'll just point out like one
yeah.
of my favorite Sister Circle meetings was when they brought somebody in to teach some self-defense.
Oh,
And yeah, it was like awesome because we're all in a circle and we're awkwardly punching and doing all of these things. But yeah.
gaining confidence if you would ever need it, right? I think
Yeah.
that was a great one. Well, so if you weren't doing law, because your aptitude test told you so early. I don't know if you could,
I obeyed so
no,
abundantly.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you could think through this. What else would you be now that you're full grown adult? You've worked with a lot of other people. Is there anything that ever would have been like, if I hadn't done law, that looks something like I could have done?
Yeah. Well, I alluded before that once upon a time I was a figure skater and then later a coach, right? And it was definitely one of those things where when I was in it, like that was a huge part of my life, totally a labor of love, loved, interacting with the kids and, teaching them. I am actually really tall. I'm 5'10", 5'11", with shoes on because I am almost always in heels. I'm over 6 foot. So I don't have a great body makeup for skating, lower center of gravity, the tiny ones, those are the great skaters. And so those that can't do coach, teach.
Yeah, sure.
So
So my hero
uh,
Olympian would you have been
yeah,
on?
no, no, no. Although Nancy Kerrigan did it. So.
She did. She did. That's true. That's a familiar name for all of us.
Yeah, but my dad once told me that, if you choose a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And so there's something about the combination of athleticism and artistry and really committing to becoming really good at something that's hard. That really spoke to me. And so I loved coaching. And it taught me a lot about life skills that I've used later on. So patience, leadership, how to bring out the best in people, those kinds of lessons, I still carry today in my legal practice. So even though I'm not on the ice anymore very much, that's definitely part of my life that helped shape who I am. And I can imagine if I wasn't doing this, I might still be doing that.
That sounds really good. So did you use all of those skills from coaching when you were raising your kids?
Sometimes, it's funny because, it's sort of known in the industry like that you shouldn't coach your own children,
Right.
because it's just different than coaching somebody else's child. You have less patience, you have higher expectations and whatnot. So I've taught both my children to skate, but I never actually coached them beyond that because it wasn't something they were particularly interested in. But I think again, those skills about being patient and you know knowing the student or knowing your child as you do as a parent, like you really have to dig into who they are and what makes them tick.
Mhm.
Uh, And so, every child is different. My children are they don't veer from that. They are very different people. But I think, one thing that I learned from teaching skating is that you have to hone in and in the moment, because it changes, right? You have to hone in the moment what's going to work for the situation and for the child, and then, use that as long as it still works until it doesn't work anymore.
I think my kids are always afraid I'm gonna, they're like, Mom, we don't need a motivational speech right now. My daughter would say that, and I would just be like, well, that's okay, because I still have my son. Fine. My daughter doesn't, like
Yeah.
my son started saying it. I think they're expecting pom-poms all the time. I'm like, guys, this is who I am. I don't know how
Yeah.
to shut down. I'm cheering you
Can't
on.
stop it.
I want you to get the most out of life, like, all right. So anyway, that's
Mhm.
I just can't turn it off. I'm like, all right, look, I can't dampen or just downplay. I like this morning I got a text from my son because I said, let me know what you get on your test. He's got this theology class, and he just thinks,
Okay.
he keeps saying it's pretty hard, it's a lot of reading, and he had his first test and he didn't think he was gonna do well. And then I get this text that said, I think it said a 92 on my test and a 93 on my paper, but it's no big deal.
Oh, like that's bad?
I don't know. I think he was just trying to downplay it, but no, I text back. I gave him all the little party hats
Yeah,
and the woo woo.
the clapping hands and the smiling
I'm like,
faces.
amazing. Like, of course. We are who we are. Just like you said, we figure everybody out
Yeah.
and you just kind of have to go with it. But okay,
Mhm.
so let's go back to the law, because here you are in your practice, but it didn't just fall into your lap. Tell me how you got this business a little bit more specifically, like those 4 years of going back to school, or even deciding to go back to school.
Okay, so this is a great story, and what you just said, like, set it up perfectly. Like, it literally fell into my lap.
Okay.
I had to work to get to the end, but as I mentioned, I worked 15 years for the same attorney, and then I one day got a call from one of those legal staffing recruiters. And I knew her because I had hired people through her agency before for the firms that I've worked for. And she was talking to me about this job as if I should know what she was talking about. And I sort of stopped her and I said, okay, I think maybe you called the wrong Kristle.
Hold on, Crystal.
And she looks at her notes and she goes, oh, I did, but you'd be perfect for this job. Are you thinking about a change? And I'm like, no, not really, not at all. But I was like, not one to be rude or, and so I said, well, send over what you have and I'll take a look. And I just had this gut feeling that maybe I should take the next step. So I went and I did an interview, the longest interview of my life, because I had only been in that one big girl job, Um, but yeah, it was actually to be a shared paralegal between two different firms. So one was a litigation firm, and the other was a solo practice firm that specialized in estate planning, real estate, and business law. And so, as you can imagine, I started working for John Teeples, who is the Teeples and Teague. And fast forward a few years, I made him give me a performance review, which he really didn't want to do. Because he's like, if there was a problem, you'd know, like, why do we have to sit down and talk about this? And I was like, okay, point taken. But after we got done with the review, he says, okay, are we done talking about what you want to talk about? Because I have something I want to talk to you about. And I was like, ooh, okay.
Right.
And he sort of laid it out that, he enjoys the practice of law immensely. And although it's not going to happen tomorrow, he's looking towards retirement. And he has been looking as a business law attorney who does succession plans for businesses, he's been looking for a successor for a long time. None of his kids want to be in the law or, lawyers. And so it was actually his wife who suggested, what about Kristle?
Gosh, what a great opportunity.
Yes, yes. And so he says, and I quote, all you got to do is go to law school.
He's looking down the road and he's like, I've got to at least do 4 more years if Kristle will start school today. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it was as horrible as they say. Because our family situation, we've always been a 2 income household. It wasn't a scenario where I could just stop working and focus on law school. So I worked full time, went to law school at night, and then uh, I did mostly part-time. So about 3 to, sometimes 4 classes per semester. So it took me a little bit longer, just about 4 years. But yeah, then in the end, and this is where the vulnerability comes out, you have to kind of cram as much of that you learn into your brain all at the same time to take the bar exam.
Yes.
And it's intense. It's so much information and you don't know what they're going to test on. So you have to know it all.
You have to know it
And
all. Oh my
there's all
gosh.
kinds of strategies and, scenarios, but a lot of it comes down to how well can you focus for an extremely long period of time and, keep yourself logically organized and all of that. There's, parts of the test that are multiple choice where they're giving you all wrong answers and you have to pick the least wrong answer. Or
I,
all right answers and you have to pick the most right answer. And then the other
yeah.
part is essays, which you have like this long fact pattern that you have to read, and then you get maybe 10 minutes to write an essay that's got to be logical and check all the boxes. And, so I'm a preparer. I like to plan, and this was hard for me. Um, then I was taking this bar exam during COVID.
Oh,
So
you did. Oh my gosh.
it was the first time that they did an electronic administration of the second time. The first time, those people got lucky. They only had to do the multiple choice portion. They didn't have to do the essay portion. The
Okay.
second time through, it was the full gambit. Um, so then you have the added complication of you're staring at a computer screen that has an AI watching you and is watching your eye movements. So don't look away from the screen or it flags a person and that person comes in and is like watching you to make sure you're not cheating, you know.
Oh my
So,
gosh. So you were like, so how old were your kids then? Because this would have been like 2020, maybe 2021.
yeah. So I graduated in 2020. And I took the bar exam. Well, I had to take it twice. So here's the
Okay.
vulnerability. The first time I made a critical error in the exam. There's 15 essays that you take, in a row. And I
Okay.
thought I was on the last essay and I wasn't. I was on the second to last essay. So I was taking my time and I'm like, why do I have so much time for this essay? And then I
Um,
realized that there was one more essay. And so scrambled, I literally had 4 minutes left and I wrote 4 sentences and I got 4 points out of 10.
oh,
And
oh.
obviously my other efforts in the other essays and the multiple choice, I was right on the line and I just fell under the line. So I did have to take it again. So when I took it again in July, I did pass that, thank goodness. And then John retired right at
Oh my gosh. He was just waiting
he
for
was
you.
waiting.
Was he your biggest cheerleader kind of
He
going
was. He was
for you?
amazing. Yeah, those days that I just had like, you know, I would be preparing estate plans with him and he's like, Kristle, like, what are you doing? Like, obviously catching mistakes and things, but he was never cruel about it. He's like, I get it. You have a lot happening in your mind right now. So
Yes.
yeah, I tried to keep all the balls in the air, but thank goodness. That was right around the time when like Meyer shipped shopping came out.
Oh
So like
yeah.
I could just order my groceries and have them delivered to the house.
Oh yeah.
Instead of
You were
sending my
using.
husband, who's like a sale guy, so he'll get like it's 10 for 10, Kristle. I got 10 chicken bouillons. Like it's gonna take us 3 years to get through those.
You're like, you can mix and match. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
need
it
all
would have
that.
been bad.
Well, so was he really supportive during this time?
My
Like,
husband, yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. You know, um, most family dynamics have, one person that handles a lot of the business elements and the
Right.
other does a lot of the, I mean, he's very handy. He can fix anything, he
Great.
knows where the air filter is in our house, he he manages the cars, all of that thing. So he had to sort of slip into the other side,
Yeah.
picking up kids and, doing things. They were in middle school at the time, just transitioning into high school. So, there's never a perfect time for something like this, but it was one of those things where I committed to doing it. And again, we're going back to skating. You commit to do something hard,
Yep.
that not everybody can do. And,
Right.
and win, lose, or draw, you're going to come out on the other end having learned something. So, yeah.
I'm sure you felt like you missed out on 4 years of your kids' lives. I mean, you would have been there, I'm sure, for the very important things, but you couldn't do daily stuff. You had to give somewhere. You might have missed I don't know what your kids were necessarily involved in, but
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
middle school doesn't require room moms anymore or field trips. So maybe you didn't
And
miss
luckily
that.
I got that when they were younger, like there were moments in my career where I did, scale back to more of a part-time role so that I could do the field trips and the things like that. So I was fortunate to have really good time with them, initially, even as a working mom. But yeah, it was a sacrifice for us all. Certainly was.
Right. It took the whole family. So were they also proud of you when you got I mean, because this was just 5 years ago then. Were they so proud of you?
They were, and I was really, as odd as it sounds, I was really grateful to have walked through the experience of failing the bar exam, because then they got to witness how sometimes in life you work really hard, you give it your all, and it doesn't work out, and you have to decide if you dwell in that failure and you let it
Mhm.
defeat you, or if you instead get determined to do it again and push through the next time. And so that whole process of, I gave myself like 24 hours to be sad about it.
Okay.
And then I said, all right, let's get back into the bar prep, mode, because I only have till July, so,
Right. So what was the difference in time, like a month or 2 months or between tests?
well, an additional torture of the whole law school experience is that you take the bar exam. They offer it 2 times a year, February and July. And then
Oh,
you have to wait months and months and months for the results to come out. So in July, I didn't get the results until November. And as I said, then John
oh,
retired in December. So
okay. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
well, that's good. So,
So
so you took it February the first time,
mhm.
and then
And
so
I
by the
want to
time
say
you,
those results came out like March or April. And
so then you
then
had a
I only
couple
had
months.
like the exact
Oh,
amount of time that I needed to do the bar prep again.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say that would have taken a lot of like grit or perseverance to just go, oh my gosh, I have to do this again.
Yeah,
Just,
I know. It really was like, and I'm not alone. I mean, it happens to many really, really brilliant people.
mm,
And, I think those stories are the most impactful for young lawyers and people in law school and stuff like that, because it feels like a lot of pressure, like
yeah,
if I don't get this, then all of that was for nothing, like I need the
right.
golden ticket.
You got to get to the end.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, the other thing is it wasn't, I mean, you said you were maybe on the line, so to speak, because when you got your 4 points, if it only needed like one or two more points. Sometimes I'd rather miss by a lot than just a little bit. That's like,
yeah,
gosh, you
yeah,
have to do all this again.
yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a knowledge thing. It was more of a time awareness. So any time that we're not passing tests, it can be for a lot of reasons. But
Hmm.
like you said, 24 hours, I'm sad, and now you got to dig
Yep.
deep, you got to pull up the bootstraps, and you just got to knock it out because you had a lot riding on this. Your family had a lot riding on it through those sacrifices that you guys all made. And John was ready to get out of there.
I did not want to disappoint John.
Right. I mean, he seems like a really good mentor. Do
Oh,
you feel like you could
fantastic.
have done this without him? I mean, just in a sense of everything you learned or the direction of the type of law that kind of fell into because of what he had. I mean, it seems like the path was almost laid out so easy, but maybe it was God. a little bit, like a
Oh, definitely, definitely.
divine intervention, and so to speak, because the wrong Crystal was called, but then it turned
Yeah,
out to really be the right one, and you took the leap, and then it ended up where you wanted the performance tracker. You're like, hey, can we sit down and can we just, I need to know how I'm doing. And he was like way ahead of you. He's like, are we done? I need to tell you,
yeah,
like, plan for your life. It just seems like everything was so laid out.
yeah,
Really,
yeah.
really good.
Well, not to get up on a soapbox, but God's view of our lives is so much bigger than our own view. And I've seen that time and time and time again in my life. And, like you said, the fact that this recruiter called me as an accident and error, the fact that I left the comfortability of my, current position, like I had job security there. And
Yeah.
I was really very satisfied and fulfilled in that career as a paralegal. I was good at it. I, loved my boss. None of those things were a factor into why I made the change. It was just this gut instinct that is, the prompting of the Holy Spirit, that says,
Yeah, absolutely.
like, take the leap and see what happens, see what I have for you. And so, yeah, I think all of those things, the fact that none of John's kids wanted to be lawyers, they all have very rewarding careers of their own. And the fact that he wasn't forcing any of them into it, the fact that he and his wife saw in me the potential to carry on what he started. And I'm
Yeah,
honored by that, immensely, of course.
yeah,
And so many law school students go through all of that, go through law school, go through the bar exam, and then they do everything they can to get a job, and then they have to work 80 hours a week in a firm to make partner. And none of that was for me, like I wasn't signing up for that. I was signing up for the practice that I worked with John,
yeah,
in. And I am 100% transactional. So one of the reasons early in my life that I didn't go to law school, even though I could have, was because I didn't see myself as a fast on my feet, quick thinking litigator. You know,
right. Okay.
I enjoy the people. I enjoy the interaction. I like to get to know the stories and find solutions where solutions are needed. Um, so that's where I excel. And, not many people know that there is a whole transactional side of law. The contracts, the mergers, the acquisitions for businesses, the succession planning, the estate planning, avoiding probate for your family, all of those things. And then the intersection of all of that with like real estate transactions. These are all the things that John did in his practice, and it's just a perfect fit for me as well. So um, I, I thank God for him. He
Yeah.
he blessed me beyond belief because I didn't have to work my way up in a firm setting. I considered it. I had some offers, but I just decided like it was time after my whole life working for other people that I work for myself. And I was really committed to not only being a good attorney, but being a good business owner and a good boss to the people I, employ. Those are all things that I think are hard to, do all at the same time, but I was committed to trying my best to do that.
Well, and if I remember correctly too, a lot of that came from being in the business prior for 15 years. And I mean, it's been in your career, whether it was in the prior firm or in this one with John and before law school, and you've been able to have a sense of all of these different areas and
Hmm.
being able to run the business because that's hard.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get caught up in running the business and not doing what we actually love.
Yep.
And so to be able to manage that and the employees and all of the different types of things that are necessary in our business, still do what we love is amazing. So well
Yeah.
done. Well
It's
done for
definitely
that.
a tug of war, right? Between the
Yes.
obligations over here and the obligations over there. But,
Yes.
you know, through my early career as a paralegal, like I had the advantage of running multiple firms. The job share situation that I had with John and the Howard Law Group, like I learned from them a lot of the tax structures and the bookkeeping and the, administrative side of the business, because their small firm was a little more complex than John's solo firm,
Yeah.
so that was invaluable experience as well. So for me, I felt uniquely equipped to handle those logistics,
Mm.
um, and do it well because I had an understanding of how. They don't teach you that in law school. Like, they don't teach you how to be
No,
an attorney.
no. I
They
think
don't
that's
teach you
how
how to
God
run a business.
Isn't that how God works, though? He always kind of puts us in all of these different situations, and we sometimes don't even understand why we have to do this first, or then the
Yeah,
next step, or be in this firm, or learn this department. And the next
yeah,
thing you know, sometimes looking back, you can go, oh,
yeah,
now I see it. I mean, and you do feel fully equipped. I think that is so,
yeah.
so cool that you are fast forward where you are now. But let me ask you the big question for all of our listeners that might be a little bit younger, if you could have done it over and just finished your degree right away when you were getting your bachelor's, would you do it all over again differently? Or do you like the way that it worked out just as it was?
I I don't think so. I don't think I would have done it differently. I think all of that happened for a reason, and only now at the end, not at the end. I mean, it's not the
Not end
only,
end.
not the end.
Not the end.
Hopefully looking back in hindsight, like now I can see all of the pieces of skills and knowledge and, wisdom that I gathered along the way that have contributed to the success that I'm experiencing now. And I don't know if I had done it right at the get-go, that I wouldn't have had those experiences. I wouldn't have had the challenge of, completing something when I had my attention torn in different directions, and failing at something and having to overcome that failure. Like, none of those things would have been
Yeah.
ingrained in me at that point. So, and like I mentioned before, I would not have likely had the opportunity to be as involved in my kids' younger years as I was if I had been a lawyer at that point. Yeah.
So would that be something that you would tell a younger attorney yourself? You know, if you were the mentor flip-flop from where you were with John, would that be kind of something that you would tell a younger attorney, or would there be a different piece of advice that you would share with them through your journey?
Well, I think that there's a lot of pressure when you get to the, like, high school graduate, choosing your profession, taking those steps. And law school is not only a huge commitment, but it can be a huge financial commitment as well, right? So,
Mm.
I think that I would tell someone starting out, to get involved in a firm, see what it's like, because you have lots of choices with this law degree that you're seeking. You could be part of a big firm and seek that partnership. You're going to have to work really hard to get there, but if that's what you want, and that's, what you think is best for your life, then, set your sights on that and take steps to get there. But maybe you want a life with a little more control, where you're calling your own shots, and then you could look at a sole practitioner, solo attorney setup, like me. And then you can take steps to insert yourself in organizations like that, so that you know how, when the time comes, that it's, for you to do that. um and it's more than just about money. I think that is a driving factor for the younger generation, because our cost of living is so expensive, and it's only
Yeah.
rising. The economics of it are telling everybody, like, you need to make a lot of money or you won't have a good life. Um, to me, it's more about striving for excellence and maintaining balance so that you can sustain it. Being great at practicing law isn't enough in and of itself. You have to learn to run the business well. You have to take care of your people. And if you underestimate the importance of those systems and structures and setting boundaries and stuff like that, then you're likely to peter out. You get
Mhm.
overwhelmed, and make mistakes. So if you're somebody that likes to serve others, like most of us do, it's a beautiful thing. you can build your business in such a way that it serves you back. Um, so the balance doesn't come naturally, but you really have to be intentional about it. So I would think really doing some soul searching, in your younger years when you're absorbed with other things, like know yourself, know what makes you tick, just like you do with your kids, right? Know what makes you tick, and then you can take steps to insert yourself in a situation that will benefit you and others, and be sustainable.
Sometimes it is easier to see in other people their strengths and help them more than
Yeah.
yourself.
Have you ever taken one of those personality tests?
Yes, several over the years.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they got Myers-Briggs and
Yeah.
forgot what the other one is, but I did a stint in like a leadership ministry at church,
Okay.
and
Yes.
we took some of those, and you read that and you're like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. You're like, how did this, answering these questions turn out this product that's totally me? But when
Right.
you read it and you internalize it, you're like, oh, okay. And then
Right.
you can form your own, next steps based
Yes.
on that.
I took Strength Finder, that book. Did you ever take Strength Finder and they give you like your
No.
top five strengths and then
Oh yeah.
you get your bottom or not your bottom five, there's just the next five. And so
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
that one time. Yeah. That was kind of fun, because it's really just all about categorizing what your strengths are. And one of my top five was woo. So I guess that
Woo!
fits. Like I'm a woohoo. Like
Woohoo! You're an
I'm a
encourager.
the cheerleader, the motivational speaker, whatever. So
Yeah.
really quick before we kind of move into our last segment, can you just tell your dad's quote one last time? Because I think after everything that you just said,
Oh,
that just kind of
yeah.
ends it so well. Yeah,
Yeah, of course. So my dad always used to say, if you choose a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
I love it.
Hmm.
I have written down a couple of things that we've talked about, but choose a job you love. I love it. Great. Well, so for our for our listeners, whether you're running your own business or just dreaming of taking those first steps, I hope Crystal's words encouraged you to trust your skills and bet on yourself. That's the biggest thing. And embrace the unique strengths you bring to the table. And if her story resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Share it and subscribe and let someone else be reminded your journey is valid, your voice matters, and you're never alone. So here's the fun part. Well, actually, it's all fun, but this one's a little bit more fast-paced because I always call it the lightning round. So
Lightning round.
nothing
Okay.
that you can really prepare for, just some off-the-cuff questions and just ways of getting, more of that personality out for people to really just be able to know who you are. So I'm going to start with, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I am currently an early bird. I used to be a night owl and then I had children.
You're currently an early bird. Do you like coffee or tea or something else? What's your go-to drink?
Oh, I promise I am not a psychopath. I love caffeine. I just don't like coffee. Never
Oh,
have,
okay.
never
So
will.
how do you get caffeine?
Well, I used to, okay, again,
Listen.
transparency. I always had a really high metabolism, so I would drink Mountain Dew like it was going out of style. But then I
Oh,
turned 40 and that all went away. And so
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 no more
I
Mountain Dew.
drink hot chocolate all day long. I enjoy
Oh,
all of those things. That's, when I invite you out to coffee, that
yeah.
means you're drinking coffee and I'm drinking hot chocolate.
Okay, perfect. Well, I get that. That's
With
awesome.
no whipped cream.
So what's your favorite place in Michigan or West Michigan to relax and recharge?
I love my parents' place up in Grant. It's like 20 some odd acres up there, and it's just the woods, and it's, beautiful and quiet, and yeah, so I do love that. I'm not a big beach person. I love the beach, but I don't like the sand.
Yeah,
So
I get that too. We
so
have
yeah.
similarities. I love it.
Yeah.
How about a book that's the biggest influence on you?
Mm. Okay, so are you familiar with Francine Rivers?
I love Francine Rivers.
Okay. I'm doing like this path through all the books of Francine Rivers. So I read Redeeming Love. not too long ago, which they made a movie about. Great movie. And then I moved on to read The Masterpiece.
Oh, I don't know if I know
And
that one.
that one is particularly good for me because it has this like undertone about discipleship that I really needed to hear. So yeah,
Okay.
I love that. But I also love like all of the Harry Potters and the, like the little fantasy books. Like I love
Yeah,
those too.
those are
So
fun. I loved Francine Rivers' Mark of the Lion series.
oh, okay. Yeah.
I've reread those three books, well, actually the first two over and over, because it's really, I just love the story of Hadassah and what was it, Mark Anthony. Anyway, this is
Yeah.
about you, Krista. We got to keep going
No,
here.
no, no, it's good.
Point me in rounds. So I think you mentioned this with Lydia a little bit, but what's one word your friends would use to describe you?
um hmm. Probably kind.
Okay.
Maybe a little selfless. I think of others before me instinctively all the time. I'm always trying to make other people comfortable and so probably that. Maybe nerd, dork, you
That's
know.
what was your superpower again? Say your superpower.
Oh, well, Lydia calls me the people's attorney. And
That's
she
right.
says that my superpower is just like speaking to people at their level, like making them comfortable. Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
not being a stuffy attorney. Yeah.
Right. Being real.
Be real. Yeah.
Just being real.
Real people.
So if you could trade places with anybody for a day, who would you trade places with?
Oh, Celine Dion.
You didn't hesitate. Okay.
No, no, I know she's been struggling with her vocals and stuff, but she is like, I just think the best singer
Yeah,
ever.
she is a really good singer.
Yeah.
Um, well, and so you may have already alluded to this, but maybe dig a little deeper. What's one thing people are always surprised to learn about you? You can't use figure skating again, is there?
Oh yeah, that is something they're always like, really? Because you're so
Yeah,
tall.
I know. Anything else? What else would people be surprised to learn about you?
Okay. So I mentioned I have two children.
Yep.
If I were to say to you, Sherry, my two children are very close together, what would be the difference in age you think is the case with them?
2 years.
Closer. My
Did you
children are about 10 and a half months apart.
did you have them in the same year?
No, I didn't, but they are probably as close together as you could possibly be without having twins.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that was, not necessarily the plan, but that's how it worked out.
What do they call that when they're not twins but so
Irish
close?
twins.
Irish twins. There you go.
Yeah. But I
All
think
right.
that is if they're in the same year. So Anthony was born in 2005 in December, end of December, and
Okay.
Angelina was born in November of 2006. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
So close. Well, so did that benefit the two of them? Were they super close together then as siblings?
I think it worked out just as it should. I mean, they obviously are siblings and of opposite sex, so they have their differences, but in general, I think they secretly love each other, and it was always, one does, the next does, one does, the next does. Um, so aside from when Anthony, who was an early walker, and had just given birth to Angelina, aside from when I was trying to feed her and he's toddling around into banisters and things like that, everything else worked out just fine.
It must for to remember that. That must have been really tough.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're
I
like
remember
going,
the first time he like
yeah.
smacked his head in a banister. He had like these two big lines. I was like, this is not going to work.
Oh my gosh. And actually, you have both A names. So was that intentional? Like, because a lot of twins get same names. Like,
Yeah, no,
A.
Anthony was named after my great grandfather.
Okay.
Um, Anthony Cabucci.
Okay. All right.
And so Anthony was named after him, and his middle name is my husband's first name, Joseph.
Okay.
So Anthony Joseph. And then Angelina, I think we wanted to stay with an A name, and I just liked Angelina. And I know everybody
Oh.
says Angelina Jolie, but I didn't name it after Angelina Jolie. I just like the name Angelina. And her middle name is actually Raven. And my husband put together some of the letters of my mom's name and his mom's name. And so it's Ray V. And so his mom
Okay.
is Yvonne and my mom is Andrea. And so Raven. Yeah.
Came out Raven. Well,
Hmm.
that's nice. That's a really nice family story, though, too, kind of keeping that heritage, I
Yeah.
guess, a little bit
Yeah.
alive. Oh, that's really great. I love that you were able to do that with your kids. I thought you were going to say you used your middle name for Angelina.
No, I mean my middle name is Anne, after my mom, Andrea. But no, we didn't. We
Yeah,
didn't do that.
Angelina Ann would have, yeah. Raven's kind of unique though too. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it is.
I
And
love
she
that.
loves it. She loves it now.
And it's yeah, I bet. And it sounds like there's a lot of Italian in your family, if I'm hearing the last name. So that's probably why you worked in every Italian family's restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
pulling all this up.
Joe is 50% Italian. I'm actually only 25% Italian. But it's always been a strong part of our upbringing and culture. His mom was actually born in Italy. Uh,
Oh,
and so I think I was just drawn to that culture, the
yeah.
people, the traditions. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love pasta.
I mean, I hope there's nobody else out there that doesn't love pasta. All right. Well, Kristle, thank you for being part of Women and the Businesses They Own podcast. Your story matters, and today you told it beautifully. And finally, to our listeners, remember she came, she spoke, and she inspired. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.